Cider making has been so important to the county of Herefordshire. If you take the apple out of the county, you take the history and the economy. The museum, it's well worth coming because there's so much to see. We've got the Herefordshire Pomona, a book illustrating the different types of pears and apples that were produced in the mid-19th century. There's so much to see and to appreciate and to learn. We all should play a part in maintaining that history and preserving it for the future. When the Cider Museum was opened, it was, as an independent museum, but representing all cider makers. And now, through the advertising, in particular, the last 10 years, it's engaged a different audience. And therefore, many of the artisan cider makers are now coming on board. But the history is so relevant to them because without that history, they haven't got the knowledge and the traditions. The Cider Museum is located in the original cider making factory of Bulmer's Cider. Bulmer's started making cider here in 1887, and the cellars in which we're now sat were excavated in 1889. And when they vacated in 1978, the building was then acquired for the Cider Museum. Bertram Bulmer started Hereford Cider Museum Trust in 1973 with Esmond Bulmer, Norman Weston and Professor Hudson. And their desire was to maintain the history, and because so many were associated within the cider industry, they had the contacts to enable us to protect the history of cider making. The museum opened in 1981 and it portrays the history of cider making worldwide. The Cider Museum is an independent charitable trust. It's never been part of Bulmer's, but obviously because we are in what was originally their cider making factory, we've always had a close relationship with the company.
The archive was set up to be a repository, a place where people kept documents to do anything to do with cider and pomology, which is basically apples and pears. The running costs are paid for by the National Association of Cider Makers. They give us a grant to fund my post and basically the materials. We catalogue them, and that's what I do mostly, so as we know what we've got in the store, and then we answer queries. My aim is to get the archive so well catalogued that no one will ever have to ask me a query again, because it will be online. The address is the archiveofciderpomology.co.uk.
Our main event, without doubt, is the Cider and Perry competition that we hold in May. It's now of an international status and we attract entries from overseas, but it's the one event which I think we enjoy because we have direct contact with the cider producers. We have 250, 260 ciders to judge in one day, but it's always so rewarding when you see and hear the cider makers coming, meeting and greeting one another. But they have a wonderful network between themselves, and I think it's so positive for the future of cider production. There are so many craft cider makers coming on board, and the mantle of Henry Percival Bulmer is still there for someone else to pick up. There's a big revival in cider, and obviously there's people always, there will be people that want to come to the museum, for those who may be a producer themselves or have worked in the cider industry or just enjoy consuming it. People should come and celebrate, the history of cider. It has contributed so much to the county and to, their families individually.